There you go. That's super easy. Yep. Yeah, I made that recipe last year. And I was like, I need to know about this.
You did like refreshing.
Cool. Alright. So, hey guys, good to see you. Happy third tour. And almost Thanksgiving. So, yay. Slash, I know it's really stressful during holidays, so that's why I'm here. Today, I kind of wanted to make it more of an Ask Me Anything. So, just kind of, any questions that you guys have about health, that you guys have about holidays and health, things like that. So, as you're kind of noodling on questions, one of my questions is, how many of you are introverts? Like, would classify yourself as an introvert? Yeah. Okay. You get food?
Yes.
Yes, you get food. Are you an introvert? Depends. Okay. So, the reason I ask is because a lot of times the holidays can be really hard for introverts. Because it's an extroverted time. Like it's based around extroverts, right? Thanksgiving is, Christmas is, all of the parties are, and it can be one of those really challenging spaces of kind of wanting to be involved and engaged with everyone. There's a fork.
Oh yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Wanting to be engaged, but then also needing that time to like the self-preservation and like recovery, right? My husband is an extreme introvert, and his ratio of no people to people time is like 5 to 1. Like he has to have that recovery time in order to have that time with people well. So the holidays especially are really challenging for him. And so I kind of wanted to bring that to the table today because I think we live in an extroverted society for the most part. And as we go into the holidays, it can feel like this push-pull tug of war for introverts especially. So from there, do you guys have questions around like holidays and like having introvert time, or I call it hermiting, slash, going to parties?
I find holidays very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is my sister, so she spent many a holiday.
I love holidays.
One so you can see how that goes during the holidays.
Well, that's
It's kind of fun.
So how do you feel like you recover?
I definitely take a lot of like 5-minute sessions in the midst of the holiday, like the actual day of, where I step away. I'll find like my peace and calm before I come back and can put on like a nice space and interact more with the family. So
Yeah,
breakaways, I would say. Yeah, just a long time for me to recharge.
totally.
Me and my husband will take the dogs on a walk.
That's great.
Yeah, that's how I do it. Just go out for a walk and we're away from everything.
Yeah.
That's too much.
I don't remember till January.
You're like, I'll save it.
It's real. It's a real
Yeah,
thing.
you like go through. I mean, you've got kids too, and then family, all of that packed on top of it. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Just disappear. Yeah, you do like the Irish goodbye and then like
just come back.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. What do you do?
Just kind of hide.
That's hiding. Yeah.
You really?
Yeah.
You find like a room or a corner where no one really is at, like it's
Sneaky.
more quiet.
Quiet.
Go outside, something like that. Totally.
I could see that.
So I just want to normalize that for you guys, because I think more people than they want to admit are introverts or have introverted tendencies. And people who seem extroverted still can have this tendency to like basically dissociate or disappear in their own mind, even as they're in a conversation with people. And so, like, if you are noticing someone else that is kind of doing the same thing at a gathering, like, just go do your own thing. And they might follow you, but as introverts know, like, if you're in another room with an introvert, they're not really talking to you. They're gonna be doing their own thing. So, yeah, I just want to normalize that and also kind of have that conversation around knowing when to say no. It is really interesting that we're in like a say yes society. Just say yes to everything. Just do it all because you're gonna regret it if you don't. Like that FOMO, right? Like just in case. Like just do the thing. But a lot of great leaders say no to almost everything. Like, and that's just how they have this self-preservation, right? Like they have to do that in order to do great things. So I just want to put that out there for all the introverts in the world. Just, say yes to the things that really matter. Say no to the things that you're like, okay, if I do this thing, am I actually going to have the energy for the thing that I really need, that's really important to me? And if the answer is no, then maybe say no. And it's hard because around the holidays, there's a party every other day, and there's like people gathering all the time, and the restaurants are extra busy, and the grocery stores are extra busy. I just went to everything that you got today was from King Soopers, just because I wanted to make it, mostly accessible, right? King Soopers are all over town. And I was overwhelmed. And I'm more of an extrovert. I wouldn't say I'm a full extrovert, but I'm more of an extrovert. And it's overwhelming to like just go to the store and pick just pick things out. So, yeah, I just wanted to give that freedom there and just know that like you guys are seen and heard and it's important. Extroverts have the benefit of recovering and restoring with other humans, and the introverts just don't have that. So, I think we need to normalize introversion. So, with that said, it can also go too far to the extreme of saying no to absolutely everything and wanting to just hermit and not be in the world at all. Especially in the holidays, can be especially hard. Things that happen in the family throughout the year, things that happen in your personal life throughout the year. People are missing around the table that you wish were there. Whether it's by death or by, just losing a friendship or something, losing a family relationship. And so I also want to recognize that because of that, there's this expectation, this weird expectation of the holidays to be like happy and joyful and like all of these things. And kind of the expectation is to set aside all the other emotions because they don't seem to matter around this time. Because if you're not joyful, like you're the Grinch. And it's, I think more than anything, people need to just have the freedom, again, to have all of the emotions and like not be always joyful and not be always happy and like go through the things they need to go through around the holidays and like have that experience with other people. So I say that to say, if you have, people in your life that you can confide in and like go through those emotions with, I think that's a really, really valuable relationship to keep, especially through the holidays and when you're feeling like no one understands you and things like that. Just think of that one person who might and like reach out to them and don't hermit away from that because especially in the holidays, like it can just feel really like a ton of pressure to hold that all inside and just like wait it out. And that I think defeats the entire purpose of the holidays. So I don't think the holidays are always joyful. Like I love Christmas, but is it always joyful? Nope. I have my family stuff just like everyone else has their family stuff. And you deal with the grandma who's gonna talk down to you and you deal with the uncle who's kind of creepy or, whatever other tropes like that are actually real in your family, and there are those moments that you have to get through, but beyond that, like just have the person that you can confide in and say, yo, this really sucks today. Like I had to do this thing and I did it. And chances are that other person is gonna say, hey, it's like at least you got through it, let's go do something, or let's watch a movie, or like let's just do whatever it is you need to do together to like feel complete again, right? So taking that time. With all of that said, do you guys have questions so far? About holiday things? No?
Just want to say thank you for validating the introverts in the holiday season.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one done yet, so thank you.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Yeah, I think it needs to be more normalized. So one of the other things I want to bring up is drinking around the holidays. So part of the reason why I made mocktails, and part of the reason there aren't a ton of mocktails in here, just because a lot of the mocktails that would be really good are also kind of complicated. There are also a lot of alcohol-free, I don't know how to say this. They're like non-alcoholic gins and whiskeys and things that are coming out. They're actually pretty good. So yeah.
I actually just ordered this bottle called Fruit Spirit, and it has like a bunch of stuff that's actually really good for you in it, and it gives you a very calm, kind of euphoric feeling, so it makes you feel like more willing to go talk to people, but you're not drinking. You will have no hangover or side effect from it. I love it. And there's like no sugar, like 4 grams of sugar for 1 ounce.
Yeah, so Free Spirit's a really good brand.
I love it.
Same with, CBD. CBD sodas are coming out more often. Dram, I think, is in a couple of places like Sprouts. So kind of using those as, I don't know if CBD helps at all. Sometimes it helps me if I'm feeling like a little anxious or stressed about something to just chill out. So just kind of keeping those things in mind. I didn't want to write that down here because I don't want to totally advocate for CBD everything. I don't want to totally advocate for non-alcoholic alcohol, those types of things, because I think we can kind of get it in our minds that like that's the only thing. It's like, let's venture out of that just a little bit, But I will say the non-alcoholic gin with a tonic tastes like mostly like gin and tonic. So kind of finding the things that you know that you like, that you know that you're going to enjoy, but also, they're expensive, right? So I wanted to also put things in here that were more obtainable. You could just run to the store and not have to think about if it was a last minute thing. But if you are planning, look up the alcohol-free spirits. They're really, some of them are really good, some of them are really terrible. But look, there are, I think there's a list on Consumer Reports of non-alcoholic alcohols. That's a really good list. So I would look at that and just kind of see, okay, what are the flavor profiles that I like? What do I usually like to drink this in? Do I like to drink it straight? Whatever those are. Because a lot of times around the holidays, people just tend to drink more. And it's not that they drink more often per se, but it's more maybe even just 1 or 2 times a week, which it turns out, if you drink, let's say you drink anywhere from 5 to 7 shots on the weekend, which isn't unusual going to a party. It sounds like a lot, but if you get into the party games, you get into all the drinks and stuff, it's not really a lot. Hello.
Hey.
Come. It's not.
You beat not to do.
Yeah, you gotta eat. And there's drinks.
Right.
Okay. And so if you do that once a week for about a month, which, the holidays are about 2 months, right? Maybe even 3. Sometimes, hi guys, are you hungry? I'm gonna suck you into this. No, you're good. So, even counting Halloween, right? The holidays really start ramping up around Halloween, and we don't really think about that. Like all the sugar, all the drinking, all the things. And if you do that, week after week, or even every other week, developing fatty liver really takes a very short amount of time. And I think I said this in another talk, but the more sugar that you eat, the more your chances go up for developing fatty liver disease as well. So just keeping that in mind, because fatty liver disease isn't just about a fatty liver. Like not having full function to a liver can cause a whole bunch of problems, including thyroid issues, and especially thyroid issues, I guess, but a whole bunch of other issues that I think play out in different ways in health. And so that's why a lot of times, right at the end of the holidays, right at the beginning of the new year, people are kind of starting out this new year and they're like, why do I feel terrible? And we look back over the few months, it's not a lot of it's not like you went crazy. It's just like you had maybe 5 drinks on a weekend and then no other drinks throughout the week and you feel like you did really good. But that's kind of the issue. And so if you do that, every single week for about a month or 2, you will develop fatty liver disease, or fatty liver of some kind. So just keeping that in mind. So I wanted to make the mocktails really just kind of easy. And kombucha is just one of those easy go-tos that is like, if you hate it, fine, but you hated alcohol before you loved it too. So, And there's usually like a kombucha flavor for everyone. And the great thing about kombucha is it does have a little bit of alcohol. So especially if you don't drink, I don't drink. So I get a slight buzz from it. If I have like a full can of it or something, I'm like, okay, I gotta drink water now, which is kind of weird. But it's true. And so you think about it that way and you're like, okay, this is a treat, this is a beer because it is a fermented thing, right? The bacteria of kombucha eat sugar, just like the yeast of beer eats sugar, beer or wine, I guess, eats sugar. Any alcohol really eats the sugar. So kind of makes sense as like an easy replacement, and it's everywhere. Like,
It's good for your gut too, right?
really good for your gut. Yeah. So it's a great probiotic, and I think it's just one of those, like, people lean against it because it's just the crunchy granola thing. But it's like gone so beyond that now, and like the herbs and things that they're using in it is actually, I think, I forget the brand. Brew Doctor has a great few different ones that have herbs in it that can help ease anxiety and can help, kind of help you focus and all these things. So if that's helpful going to gatherings, definitely take that with you. I know my mom back in the day, she would take apple juice because it kind of looked like beer. And that's how she would kind of trick everyone. Like, she would pour it into a red Solo cup and like no one knew. So
what do you do about it? Like, I was at a get together with my husband's family, and I love margaritas, but I don't drink on the weeknights.
Yeah.
So my mother-in-law was like, have a margarita. And I don't want a margarita. And she was like, why don't you want a margarita? This is weird. Like, have a margarita. She got to the point where she handed me a margarita.
yeah,
Like, it's really surprising common. It's just common too if you say, I'm not drinking, and people are like, why?
yeah.
They don't just leave it alone.
I think, well, from her perspective, I'm gonna guess a lot of people push drinks on you because they feel judged when you don't drink in front of them. So if they're drinking and you're not, it's like a judgment thing. And we see this all the time, right? With anytime you're kind of in a group that's like a close-knit group, and you start to kind of like not want to be in that group anymore, and you start doing other things, you might get made fun of, and that's kind of true drinking. And so that's a really tough one, though. I think at that point, I just stand my ground, and I kind of make people angry with me. Like, I just have to, because at this point, I'm not pregnant, I literally can't drink. But when I was choosing not to drink, I would just say, I just don't drink, ever, And I think there's this really interesting piece that I'm learning that great leaders do, where they'll just say, no thank you, I don't, or no thank you, period. And like, end of story. Like, no one needs to know anymore, because that's your word, right? And I think that's really hard in our society specifically. I don't see this as much in Europe. I think people have more, I don't want to say respect, but I think it's more common for people to be incredibly direct in other countries, and here we just can't handle that. So I'm kind of
food though too.
Totally,
If
yes.
you're at Thanksgiving dinner, you have turkey and vegetables on your plate. Yeah. People are like, well, you're eating the rolls and the mashed potatoes and like,
gluten-free.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm the biggest jerk because I cannot eat gluten, and I went to this dinner party thing recently where there was this, a mother of one of my friends she was raving about her banana pudding pie and about this other food that she had made, and had gluten in it, but she wouldn't confirm it for me either, and she didn't understand what I was even asking, if there was like a gluten flour in it, and she was just confused on me asking about a recipe. I just looked like a total jerk after that because she didn't understand that I had an intolerance, and as soon as I didn't grab any of her food, she didn't talk to me the rest of the evening.
wow.
So, yeah, it's quite the experience, definitely.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that it happens, and I think it has to happen in order for, like, it makes people uncomfortable, right? Like, when we're not doing the things they're doing, it just makes them uncomfortable. And so, especially so, my husband won't mind sharing this, but he literally cannot do sugar, gluten, dairy. Like, basically he eats meat, vegetables, and sweet potatoes. Like, he might have rice sometimes. He's a robot. And so, but he has to be, because otherwise, like, he's so sensitive to like brain fog and exhaustion and all of these things that he has found the things that work for his body, and like that's all he can do. And so when we go over to our family's house, basically ever, we bring our own food, and we just have to. Hello, puppy. Oh, everyone's gathered. Yes. And it's tough though, because part of our society too is like we want to please other people and we want to make other people feel good, especially when they've made something. And this is the hard part. It's like they've made something that they want you to enjoy, and that's tough because they didn't make it for themselves. They made it for you. I mean, you in general, right? Whoever's at the gathering. And so when someone doesn't want to eat it, it is this like, why? Not that I did this for you. And that's not on you though. Like that's on them. So it's kind of like in a relationship, right? Like if someone rejects you in a relationship, it's really not about you if you're being fully yourself, right? It was that they just didn't jive with you. And that's not your fault. That doesn't mean to say that you're perfect or that you don't need to grow or change in any way, right? Like we're all growing, changing human beings. But it's kind of a similar thing. Like there's this point of rejection that people will experience when you say no to them. And that's just gonna happen. So I think it's your choice, like if you wanna expand on the no, but also just like staying firm in the no and saying, hey, I'm not doing this right now. It's not a judgment thing. Like maybe like have a margarita mix with some salt or something, but like no tequila. Just to kind of be part of it. And that's something that my husband and I have done is like we will take what we can to be part of it as best we can. So like if we know that we're going to a place like my family's house, for example, most of the time there's like beer. So we'll bring Topo Chico wine because it's at least kind of that similar feel, a similar thing. We won't bring like a giant bottle of San Pellegrino like we usually do. So we'll switch it up. And I think that, there's those small concessions that you can make depending on the environment. Like you're going to a party that no one knows you and they just think you're a jerk. Fine. You didn't know them anyway, and not everyone's gonna like you. And that's tough though, right? Because that's still rejection in some form, and we have to experience that. So it's a really hard line to walk, especially with family. I think I have felt it more with family than with anyone else. It's like, it's this weird, if you're not doing the family thing, you are now not fully part of it. And
It's so dumb.
It's so, yeah, I think it's a really hard place to be.
I mean, I've had my brother-in-law literally like leave beer at my house because he like, and I'm like, no, we're not gonna drink that.
Right.
And he still leaves it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they want you to be part of it so badly that like it has to happen.
I feel like a lot of people chalked up our interactions to being very materialistically based in a way of like you have to consume this item or interact in this experience, even though it should be more foundational on that, the shared experience of being together instead of what food or quality to. Exactly. Yeah, I think that's
Not
the
we're all sitting here
perspective.
drinking beer. Now we're all sitting here like conversing,
Exactly.
getting connected.
So I think we need to change this focus with these people a little bit. Express, I'm not able to partake in this beer, but I'm here to enjoy the rest of the time. So I feel like we have to work with people's perspectives and boundaries in these relationships.
People also think you cannot have as much fun if you're not drinking.
Oh my gosh.
They think if you're not drinking, you're just gonna be boring, you're not talking, you're not with everybody. It's like most of the time I can stand up and talk to people more often and longer than if I was drinking. You get drunk sitting around people like that.
Yeah. And there are some people who are starting to, I think, come out of it. So if you're having a gathering at your house, like maybe provide some alcohol or say, hey, bring your own alcohol. I'm not gonna have any. I'll have a mocktail and tea. I had a friend who just did that this last weekend. She had made like kind of a hot toddy with apple cider, but left them separate so you could add your own whiskey, and then had tea available and then white mushrooms. Like that was it. And snacks and stuff. But I was like, oh, that's like a cool way to have something for everyone. You just don't know. Like, you don't know who's gonna show up pregnant. You don't know who's gonna show up and like not want to drink that night because they've got to an event the next day that they're really preparing for, or like really need to be present for, or something like that. Like, you just don't know. So if you're the one hosting, you have so much more control, and like that's why we like to host. We invite people over for dinner instead of going to dinner now. We've just had to change our social perspective, or like how we socially interact. One, because we can say get out by like 9 o'clock, and everyone's like, okay, bye. And two, because we get to control the experience. And so we don't have alcohol in our house, so we just have non-alcoholic things. So people know, or we let them know, like, hey, if you want to bring alcohol, great. You're not going to offend us. Please bring your own wine, or whatever. And people do. And it's great. So yeah, I think it's a lot easier when it's in your own house, and you can kind of have that full control over stuff. People still might bring things that you can't eat. And we make small concessions, right? We'll do, I won't really do gluten if people bring gluten, but if people bring like a dairy something, I'll eat a little bit of dairy and just say, thank you so much for what you just brought. At least have like a taste, you know? So, yeah, I think changing that as well as much as possible. Like, I know it's not possible for, like, especially that family time during the holidays, of like going to Christmas event or going to Thanksgiving events. Like, you're usually at someone else's house. So one of the things that has helped us a lot, and I think has helped a lot of my clients in general, is asking what you can bring. Just saying, hey, can I bring anything? And if they say no, just say, great, I might bring this thing, just for a little extra, just in case. And usually people are fine with it, you know? Yeah, so that can sometimes be helpful. But it still sucks. And I don't know the answer to it. I think I don't know if it's like a generational thing that like might die with like
No, I think it's, I don't know. Cause like, I mean, even if you're taking a break from drinking, it's amazing. Like going to like a happy hour and people are like, where'd you drink? The only thing that I found to be super effective is to have like a wine glass and fill it with sparkling water, or go to the bar and say, hey, I just want soda and lime.
Yeah.
And then people don't really ask questions because they think you're drinking like a vodka soda or something like that. But with a lime in it, it doesn't have water, right? So give it to me in a cocktail glass.
Totally. Yeah, if you're in a group where people are hammering you so bad and you're out in a place like that, like, go do something like that. That's the perfect thing to do. But
It's just really sad. I have a lot of friends that have gotten sober in the last 2 years, and they've lost friends over it.
and that happens.
Literally.
Totally. I've lost maybe half of my friends because I don't drink or do drugs of some kind.
It's a real thing.
That's wild.
It's just sad that people are like that shallow that,
Well, it's
you know,
huge insecurity on their part. They're insecure about that part of their lives. They feel like you're not drinking, you're judging them. I'm sorry, because they're
Well,
doing themselves really.
I think part of it too, is that they just don't really think about it. You know, they're like, we're going to this place, they're not going to want to drink, so we shouldn't invite them. You know, so, and that's like the hard part, is like, I still want to go hang out with you. I can go to a bar and not drink very easily. I have done it.
I can throw down on that dance.
There's so many things to drink other than alcohol. Yeah, so I think, you know, for them, just kind of, you know, being a bit of a devil's advocate here, just like, you know, whenever, you know, you have a friend who chooses to do things you don't want to do, some of it's judgment because, you know, you're like, you really shouldn't be doing that. But some of it's also like, well, they don't want to do what I'm doing because they're choosing to do this other thing. And I think that's true with getting sober too, or like having friends who don't drink. It's hard. Like, our society is kind of around drinking and eating. So I don't know. I mean, thankfully we're here and we go on a hike, but that can only last for so long too. So I think some coffee shops are like starting to do a little bit more mocktails, like kombucha, things like that. Some bars too. I think last time I checked, this could be wrong, but last time I checked, Hawaii had a couple of mocktails. And some bars are starting to get into the craft of mocktails instead of just cocktails. So I know Hawaii has a couple of alcohol-free spirits as well, or they used to. I don't know what they used to do. So things like that are starting to come up a little bit more.
I think they have like a whole non-alcoholic bar too, either here in the Springs or like Denver.
They
where
do
it's a
have one in
bar.
Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of the nice restaurants are doing mocktails now, and if you ask, the bartenders are more than willing to do it.
Yeah.
It just might not be great.
Yeah. It might be a little sugar,
Just get out the
but so
restaurant.
alcohol, so. Yeah. So yeah, those are just kind of the big things I wanted to point at today, was just introversion, holidays can be hard and life can be hard, and then just being mindful of how much drinking is happening, how much social pressure is like kind of forcing that on you, and just asking yourself, what are you gonna do about it? Because it's going to happen. So like, what is your no, and how do you want to approach it? Because I think preparing for it can be so much more helpful than just getting into the moment and not really knowing what to do. So even if it's just like practicing on your sister, saying what's going to happen when, and it sounds silly, but you know, when you start to do that and you have that experience, like you do feel more confident in the moment. My husband has, I feel like I'm ragging on him all day today, but he will have full conversations with himself if he knows he's about to have a conversation with someone else. Like, I can hear him having a conversation with himself, like in another room, that's this conversation that's about to happen in like an hour. And so I don't do that. But you kind of like play that out a little bit, and it is helpful. I've done it a couple of times, and I don't like to because it feels very awkward, and I'm not as bold as he is. But doing that, you know, you do have this, it's kind of a muscle memory a little bit. You know, you get out the words that don't feel right and all of that stuff. So, other than that, everything here, I just kind of made a list of things that I was like, you know, these are things that maybe you wouldn't think about. The popcorn is, I didn't put the popcorn brand, it's the Boom Chick Pop popcorn. Terra chips, or another interesting chip. I think a lot of times we get stuck on potato chips or tortilla chips, and it's like, there's so many chip options. So I was like, you gotta try Terra chips and like try it in a different dip. So this dip is called Sosi's Armenian yogurt dip. And it's in King Soopers. It's always by the hummus. I think it's delicious. They have one other flavor that's a little more spicy, and it's awesome. The easy to make stuff, pasta salad. What you've had today is the cucumber tomato feta salad, and other, you know, there's a coleslaw recipe in here too. I didn't make that, but it's quite delicious if you like coleslaw at all. And the nice thing about the cucumber, tomato, and the coleslaw stuff is like you can just add chicken to it or add something to it to add a protein of some kind, and it's a full meal, especially gluten-free. So you can just throw it in a gluten-free tortilla or a regular tortilla, and it's a full meal. And then same with desserts. So the dried mango, there's actually, you can get really good dried mango. This stuff just came from, again, King Soopers. And it kind of satisfies like that sweet tooth, but also has a little bit more nutrients to it. I put mochi ice cream because it's this really easy, like most people won't do more than like one little mochi ball. So it's kind of that nice portion control kind of thing. And dark chocolate and Lily's chocolate, they're just going to be more satisfying. You usually can't eat a whole bar of dark chocolate. If you can, let me know. I will be impressed.
I believe it.
You are?
I love it.
I am impressed. Yeah, and then just doing like a healthy ice cream float. You can do that with Olipop or even like a Zevia soda. And then fresh berries and homemade or store-bought whipped cream. And then a fruit crisp, and there's a fruit crisp recipe at the end of this as well. This I did not make. This was from Country Living, I think, but it was a really good one. That basically was like, any fruits you want to make. Like, it doesn't have to be an apple crisp or whatever. And then what I made today for the mocktails were just super easy. I just wanted it very easy for everyone here. If you did like it, great. If you don't like it, don't tell me. But the kombucha and the pineapple coconut water is just equal parts. So whatever that means, you can have 4 ounces and 4 ounces, 6 ounces and 6 ounces, great. The Baked bees, apple cider, and cold brew. And then the French vanilla nut pods creamer, I chose that one specifically because it's 0 sugar. There's no sugar in it. But it has that sweetness, so I think it's stevia sweetened. And that one was pretty easy as well. Just kind of tasted like fall, fresh, all that stuff. And then again, I kind of put down the Topo Chico lime or grapefruit in the little bottles, like if you're going somewhere and you want to feel like you're having a beer, but not quite. I've tricked my brain into thinking Topo Chico lime is like Bud Light wine. So that's how I just consider it every time I take it somewhere. Yeah, and then just some of the easy recipes here. I wanted to make things that were not too complicated and literally took like 15 minutes. That you could just grab items from the store and just throw it together at home. So, yeah.
So what are some things that you tell us on like Thanksgiving that we should eat / avoid?
Avoid, oh man. Most of it is avoid. Like, Thanksgiving is tough. Thanksgiving is one of those holidays that I'm just like, turkey, sometimes, I mean, gravy has gluten in it more often than not, so if you're gluten-free, like, either bring your own gravy or don't eat it. That's really it. I mean, everything is like a casserole that's like drowning in cheese or fake cheese, or mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes might be fine. I mean, it's still a bunch of butter and stuff, but it's just butter and potatoes. So like that might be one of your best options. I would say stay away from the rolls and stuff, like all of the extra breads and things kind of around. Some Thanksgivings will have like a good little like nut assortment and stuff, and that's just a great way to get healthy fats. The more fat and protein you eat, this is the big one. Eat protein and fat first before you eat the starches. So protein and fat, and then vegetables, and then starch. And that's probably going to be your healthiest meal at Thanksgiving that you can possibly have. And try and eat fresher vegetables. So not like my mom likes to make a green bean casserole that is like a quarter green beans. There's a bunch of questionable things in there. So just consider as you're going through food, like what is, like cranberry sauce, avoid. Like there's so much sugar in that. I don't care if it's homemade or not. There's a bunch of sugar in it. Yes, there's cranberries in it. But cranberries only taste good when you add sugar. That's just it. Like, they do not, I dare you to eat one of those cranberries up there. It's a fresh cranberry, and it will, just take a video of whoever's trying it, because it's delightful to watch their face. And then, I would say, so one of my big rules on desserts for Thanksgiving is don't feel like you have to eat it just because it's that once a year thing. Like, ask yourself if you actually like it. I don't like pecan pie or pumpkin pie, and every single year I used to just kind of trick my brain into thinking I did, because it was like, it's Thanksgiving, like you're supposed to eat a slice of pumpkin pie, and I just don't anymore. What I will do is make something that I want and bring it to wherever I'm going. So my favorite dessert, because I'm from Florida and I'm from South Florida, is key lime pie. And so I'll make a healthy version of key lime pie and bring it with me. And usually there's someone else. And if there's not, I don't care, because I'm gonna eat it when I get home. And it's healthy, so like I won't feel too bad about it, you know? And there are some things like, don't feel like you have to be strict or restrictive around the holidays either, because that's also not healthy. Like there's this balance of like enjoyment and eating for nourishment, whatever that means. If it's like that social nourishment, if that's the actual physical nourishment, whatever it is, but like consider why you're choosing what you're choosing, and like just ask some questions as you're putting things on the plate. Do I actually want this? Do I feel like everyone else is getting it, so I'm just gonna put it on my plate? It's just like we don't stop and think about it too often. So I think just stopping and thinking, and then not caring when judgment comes. Like that's kind of the hardest part, is the judgment piece, and not caring about the judgment.
I just tell them, there's more for you now.
Right, yeah, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
There's more for you.
There's more for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a benefit to you, I swear.
Yeah.
She said this our entire life.
I don't like cheese. I'm like, listen, there's more cheese for y'all.
Yeah.
I just don't want
There you go.
That's probably the one thing I get judged on the most. Like, you don't like cheese, you weirdo. I'm like, no, listen, there's more for you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing you a favor.
Do you a favor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then bring your own. Like, ask, say, hey, I know you're preparing all these things for Thanksgiving. I would love to contribute. Do you mind if I bring this? Generally, the answer is going to be yes, because they want, they want to be a good host and they want to like provide what you need. And so then, like, you have a dish that you can eat. So, like, sometimes I'll just bring something as simple as that. I'm like, it looks kind of holiday-ish, right? It's like red and green and white and things. And so I might do something like that, or bring like a gluten-free stuffing or something like that. And generally speaking, people are okay with it. Is that helpful? Okay.
Yeah, I think bringing more healthy options. You just think about it. We're hosting Thanksgiving, but we're doling out responsibilities, or people are offering to bring certain things, and it's just there's just not a whole lot of healthy anything associated with it. Whether it's a green bean casserole, which is full of nonsense, and
Anything you can
you don't know what people put in their mashed potatoes, and they ruin sweet potatoes by putting in extra sugar.
Marshmallows.
Yeah.
It's gross.
It's interesting.
It's so good that once tell me
I know.
one time.
Yeah. I'm like, this much of it. I don't have one bite.
And then people do. They look at your plate.
They do.
They want to
It's
feel
so
okay that their
fascinating.
plate's up to here,
Yeah.
and when they see your plate's like half full, they're like, oh.
Like, did you eat before you came? And you're like, actually, no.
I'm just going back 2 seconds later.
Yeah, yeah.
That is
That's
gonna
another.
start here and go back for seconds.
That is another thing. Is a lot of people. Sorry, hiccups. A lot of people will wait all day to eat Thanksgiving.
That's a thing at my house. My mom wouldn't even cook us breakfast.
Yeah,
we would
yeah,
say too long.
Yeah, you have to. She did like set out.
She's like, I'm not cooking
Oh,
to you.
yeah. She's like scrambled eggs for
Ain't
leftovers. She's like, but yeah, there's some crackers. Have
Yeah.
fun.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's all those
Yeah.
potatoes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the eat in the morning. Please eat. And eat snacks, right? Like eat snacks throughout the day so you're not starving once Thanksgiving meal comes around. Because then your digestive system is just on overkill. Oh, that was another thing I wanted to bring up is digestive enzymes. We eat a lot of things around the holidays that we don't normally eat. So digestive enzymes, whatever brand you get, is probably going to be fine. Be careful with enzymes because they can contain gluten sometimes.
It's really good to know.
Yeah, so just make sure on the label there's like no malt enzymes or something like that.
Okay.
But so digestive enzymes, like please take those. I just highly recommend take them before you eat because it starts to help break down food when you do eat.
First thing
So
you do.
you will feel better later.
Get the enzymes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
This
dish
is
it out, dish out the enzymes, it'll be fine. You what?
Huh?
You what?
No, no.
Just enzymes are great. If you're into, so if you do drink too much, activated charcoal is helpful. Or charcoal of any kind, activated charcoal is great. You got to take it with a bunch of water, and I think it says it on the bottle. Should take it with 12 ounces of water. There's also something really awesome that I forgot to bring. I knew I was going to forget it. It's bentonite clay, and it's already in liquid, and it's a weird taste. You mix it with a little bit of water, and it's a strange taste. It's kind of like drinking water with coconut oil in it, which sounds kind of strange. And I'm making it sound worse than it actually is, which is intentional, because once you taste it, it's really not as bad as I'm making it sound. But it's really helpful if you feel like you're getting a buildup of toxins. Like maybe you just had like, sometimes it's total load, right? Like if you've had this much sugar this week and then this much sugar next week, it is kind of this buildup after a while. And so if you're starting to feel like that, take some bentonite clay, make sure it's stuff that you can ingest. Some of this, it's bentonite, bentonite. And the one that I get is already in liquid. I think it's Great Plains or something like that.
There's a Great Plains with it's a pill.
You can also do a pill.
Oh, here it is.
You got it?
Bentonite Detox Great
Yeah.
Plains.
Yes.
Ordering it now.
There you go. And it really helps.
That's a great one for feeling snores all
bentonite, yeah, if you use it on your skin, it's a really great face mask.
Don't ingest it though.
Not all of them, so just
Not all
make
of them,
sure.
not the Aztecs.
Yeah, not the Aztecs.
Topicals.
Yeah. That's textbook for your skin. But yeah, it's really great healing. As long as you don't mix with metal. So make sure there's like not a metal spoon you're mixing it with or something.
Oh, good to know.
It actually, yeah,
Wait, what will it do?
it just activates with the spoon. I think the clay is
So
fine,
make sure you drink that out.
Yeah.
but when you're doing like a face mask, do a spoon, metal spoon, do a wooden spoon. Yeah, so those are my three things that I always have for the holidays. It's activated charcoal, bentonite clay, and digestive enzymes. It's like my holy grail.
What kind of digestive enzymes?
I get biooptimizers and masszymes, but they're expensive. You can get Pure Encapsulations has a really great digestive enzyme. I think the Now brand, which is Natural Grocers, has a pretty good one.
I would not recommend now.
No, you don't like
No,
them.
they're the most bioavailable brand you could possibly have. I'm saying this because I'm a certified personal trainer and I studied nutrition for an extensive amount of
Not
time.
happy.
And I also worked at Sprouts as the
Oh.
supplements clerk. So a lot of places no on now.
No now. So yeah, the Pure Encapsulations is one of my favorite supplement brands in general, and then biooptimizers, they're just amazing. So love them, and it's totally worth it. I will say that. You're protecting your health, all of that. So
What kind of activated charcoal?
I get the Bulletproof Activated Charcoal. That's the brand that I trust the most there, because it's a coconut charcoal. And, yeah.
Just the capsules?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's coming tomorrow.
We're ready. Yeah, I mean, it's a great, like get those before Thanksgiving. At least get digestive enzymes. Maybe get the bentonite clay between Thanksgiving and Christmas and see how you guys are doing. And then New Year's, right? Like it doesn't really stop until after New Year's. And then we've got Valentine's. It's kind of this, it doesn't really stop. I know the holidays feels like it's this condensed thing, but it is throughout the year. So anyway.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll make sure